Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to yet another episode of TheChatt Show. Once again, thank you so much for sticking around. This is the 11th episode, and I'm hoping that all of you watching this episode have watched the previous 10 episodes. So what we are going to talk about today is not exactly to do with your core skills. Now, what do I mean by core skills? Say you're a singer, say you're a music producer, or an instrumentalist, a guitar player, a bass player. So that is your core skill. But what we are going to talk about today are satellite skills and tools that you must possess. What does satellite mean? Basically, it's a fancy term for saying complementary skills and knowledge and tools that one must possess in order to be able to do their core skills even more efficiently and just navigate their way through this industry in a professional and efficient and aware fashion. Alright, now what are those satellite skills that I feel are extremely crucial to be successful in this field? Now, I don't know how many of you have heard that interview of Taylor Swift, but there was once an interviewer who asked her what advice could she give to all the new upcoming singer-songwriters, artists in the field. And you know what she said? She said, first of all, get a good lawyer. Now, why did she say that? I mean, obviously at the level that she operates at, running into legal issues or making sure that everything is legally sound is extremely important. That might not be the case for everybody who's starting out. Having said that, that is one of the points on my list. But what is the first point on my list? Finances. Now, I have talked previously as well about finances in my episodes, and the reason I keep stressing on it is because starting out, money is so important, where it's coming from, where it's going, how we're putting it to good use, if at all we are putting it to good use or not. So the first satellite skill that we must have is managing and knowing how to manage our finances. So keep a track of where the money is coming from every month. Keep a track of where the money is going. Make a list, make a spreadsheet. If you're on a MacBook, if you're on Windows laptops, all laptops nowadays have pre-made templates to manage your finances, your expenses, your earnings, etc. Always keep track of where the money is going. All your OTT subscriptions, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, it all gets cut every month. Keep track of how many cups of coffees you're having from Starbucks. Trust me, it all adds up to a lot. Keep track of how many times you're eating out every month. When you're starting out, when you're earning, a lot of money goes into these avenues and we don't realize it, and we start thinking, hey, where is all that money going? And this is exactly where it's all going. And also always make a list of where all you're earning money from. If you have a fixed source of income, put that on the spreadsheet, whatever, teaching music or at an institute or whatever it is that you're doing. Then list all of the variable income sources, say music production, studio sessions, helping somebody out with their live show, selling a couple of beats, maybe I sold a couple of CDs, maybe, I did some part-time work for an organization, I did some content writing, I did some editing, I did some research work, whatever it is. Create a spreadsheet, know exactly how much money you're earning every month, what kind of expenses you're incurring. Second part to knowing your finances is investing the money that you earn. Now, I know during COVID, investments and how to invest and ways to invest really saw an uptick. The traffic on YouTube, number of blogs, number of Instagram channels, all of that saw 300, 400, 500% rise in the audience viewership. Despite that, it's surprising that so many of us are still not investing our money in a sound fashion. So now I am no expert, so I am not going to be giving out tips or ways for you to invest your money. But what I am going to suggest is that go on YouTube, instead of watching, the highlights of yesterday's match or some funny video or some YouTube shorts, go ahead and just type how to invest your money the best when you're in your 20s. There'll be a ton of videos which will explain to you what to do, what not to do, where to put your money, where not to put your money, and it's a great place to start. The second point that I have for you is to know your rates of taxes. Now, what kind of taxes do you pay? What kind of taxes do you incur? Every time you get a payment from a show, from music production, from an organization, from any sort of entity, if it is not an individual person making a payment from their savings bank coming into your savings bank, every time you receive a payment, something called as TDS will be deducted from the payment that you receive. Say I were to hire you to shoot my videos, or I were to hire you to mix my music. Now, say you were charging 20,000 rupees. At the end of the project, there is a very good chance that you will only receive 18,000 rupees from me. Now, you might call me and say, hey Saptak, we agreed on 20,000, why have you just given me 18,000? Well, the reason for that is I have deducted what is known as tax deducted at source, TDS. Now, there is a 10% TDS that gets cut. There is a rule that says only if your yearly payments exceed 30,000 from the same source will the TDS be cut. But for the sake of a hassle-free tax filing procedure, all organizations, all entities, all parties cut a 10% TDS while sending you your payment. The second rate of tax that you must be aware of is what rate do you pay at the end of the year. Now, I know most of us rely on our CAs, our chartered accountants, to do it for us, the family CA, or maybe our parents do it for us. A lot of us have started doing it on our own, but most musicians I know, 99% of musicians I know, do not do it on their own. So in that scenario, it's very important to know how much tax you're paying, how you can legitimately save taxes, all the legit ways, legal ways to save taxes. I could tell you clauses, section 80C, 80CCD and all of that, but it won't matter unless you do the research on your own. I know it, I have done the research, but you must do it for yourself. Check out all the legal ways to save tax, see what you can do, how you can route money to save taxes, because believe it or not, at the end of the year, at the end of the day actually, tax is one of the biggest source of outgoing funds. We don't realize it because we're just not taught all of this in school while growing up, when we start earning, when we step into the professional world. But that's what I hope to change. So this is me telling you, you heard it here first, that your tax rates are one of the largest sources of outgoing funds. So please make sure you know how much tax you're paying, how you can save taxes. The third point that I have for you is knowing how to read a contract. Now, I know that when you're starting off, when you say somebody calls you to write a song, somebody calls you for a studio session, somebody calls you for a session performance. Now, in most cases, you will not be asked to sign an agreement. The reason is that, there is still an unspoken thing that, an agreement makes things very formal. It sort of adds tension to the whole thing. But as you grow, as you keep working more and more in this field, you will realize that it is extremely crucial to have some sort of an agreement in place. Now, I understand that many times it's not possible to draw up a contract and tell somebody who's hiring you for the first time to sing on their song, go like, excuse me sir, could you please sign this document, this agreement, because I need to keep track of what is happening. There is a good chance somebody might, take a step back and say, hey, you know what, I don't feel comfortable doing that. But, you just have to stand your ground. And even if you cannot draw up a contract initially, make sure you put every single thing down on an email, even a WhatsApp message for that matter, so that you can refer back to it. I've heard so many stories of people telling me that, we discussed something, but that is not what's happening now. The scope of work that we discussed has changed, even if it's just slightly. But, having all of this on pen and paper, or having it in black and white, an email, a WhatsApp message, a text message. If you're feeling extremely sneaky, you could record your calls, but I do not suggest that. I would always recommend to put everything down on an email. So if you have done that, I know it does not constitute as a proper legal agreement, but yes, it does constitute legally as something that you can refer to when you are negotiating or if there is a conflict. So know how to read an agreement. Have a friend who's in this profession, who's a lawyer by profession, help you out, teach you, guide you how to read certain clauses, how to read an exit clause, how to read an agreement clause, entry clause. What does distribution mean? What does the rest of the world mean? What does perpetuity mean? What does a sunset clause mean? You need to know all of these things before you sign an agreement. First is never sign an agreement blindly, no matter how much you trust the other organization, the other party. Always go through the fine print, because believe me, that is where the real negotiation happens. The fine print. Always read the fine print and know what every term means. The next point that I have for you, the fourth satellite skill, is always knowing the logistics of whatever you're doing. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by logistics? It's a big word, we keep hearing it, but what does it mean? In the context of music or in any business context, logistics refers to any moving part in the commerce side of things. Now, I will simplify it for you. Say you're going on an outstation trip to play a show. Now, logistics will involve everything from the plane tickets, from the travel tickets, from the expense incurred for food, expenses incurred for staying, whatever extra bit you have to pay for the photographer, for the videographer, all the payments that you have to pay your band members, every single rupee that goes out of your pocket and comes in throughout that course of that outstation trip, that performance, comes under logistics. Now, why do I say you need to be aware of that? Because many times what happens is when we get called for an outstation show, we get a landed deal. Now, what is a landed deal? Say I'm the organizer and you are the performer. I give you a call and I say, hey, I want you to come perform at my music festival and I will give you an all-inclusive landed deal of 1 lakh rupees. What that means is every expense that you could possibly incur has to be included in that amount. This is a lump sum amount that I'm paying you. There will be no additional payments, no matter what you spend it on. This is what you get, 1 lakh rupees. Everything you want to do has to be done with this 1 lakh rupees. Whether you want to hire 2 photographers, whether you want to hire 5 photographers, 2 videographers, 1 light engineer, 1 sound engineer, that is not my concern. I have given you a lump sum landed amount of 1 lakh rupees and you choose to do with it as you please. So, being the artist, say now I am the artist in this case, I need to know exactly how much money I am spending on tickets. 5 band members, at least 10,000 to and fro. That's 50,000 gone right there. There's a sound engineer, 6th member, another 10,000, 60,000 plus. Say you convince a sound engineer that I can only pay you 5,000, 65,000 gone. Now you have to stay somewhere, right? Say the organizer provides you accommodation, great. But what if the band collectively decides to chill for another day, for an extra day? You have to book an Airbnb or an OYO or something, right? Say it costs you 10,000 bucks collectively. Yes, it's possible that this 10,000 will be divided by among all the band members, but say for some reason it's not. So you add it to the landed deal that you got, 75,000 gone. Now the photographer will take some payment, the videographer will take some payment. Say you convince them to do it for 5 grand a piece. That's another 10,000, 85,000 gone. You are only left with 15,000. Now, did I say eating out? Because obviously when you're staying at the Airbnb, you will eat out, right? Or when you're sort of checking your sound, when you're traveling, when you're at the airport, when you're at the performance venue, what if you decide to eat something? Your band decides to eat something. Say all of that for 6-7 members costs you 5,000, 90,000. You are only left with 10,000 rupees. So you see how slowly everything costs money and you cannot discount the effect it has on that landed deal that you have. So always be very aware of the entire logistical picture, the bigger picture. Be aware of the bigger picture, know what you're spending on, how you can save, how much money you can pocket, because you have to earn at the end of the day. You can't just pay everybody else and go like, it's okay, it's my project, I'm happy taking 0 rupees home. That cannot always happen. Yes, that will happen sometimes, but it can't be the case always. So know the bigger picture. The 5th satellite skill that I have for you is knowing how sound works. Now you would say, Saptak, isn't that obvious? We are performing musicians, we'll know how sound works. Let me tell you, there's a good chance that you don't know a lot of the basics. What do I mean by that? What's a feedback loop? Now, I want you to pause the video and type in the comment section what the feedback loop means. In case you don't know what it means, and it's completely alright, for the longest time I did not know what it means. This is what I mean when I say know how sound works. A feedback loop is basically when the sound coming out of your going into the mic comes out from the monitors that's kept on stage, which gets captured by the mic again and goes back into the monitor, comes out of it. So you see there's a loop that gets formed. And this is where that shrill sound that you hear comes out. This is just one of the things. The other thing could be, knowing why you can't hear yourself well on the in-ear monitors. The solution is not to keep on increasing your vocals on your in-ear monitors or your stage monitors. The solution, the optimum solution is to reduce everything else so that your vocals stick out. This is what I mean when I say know how sound works. If you go on increasing the volume, your own vocal volume on your in-ear monitors, you will fry your ears. There is only so much volume a pair of in-ear monitors or stage monitors can handle. And your live sound engineer will tell you that. He will tell you that, hey, is it fine if I reduce, say, the drums, if I reduce the keys, if I reduce other things so that your vocal pops out more? So you must know how to navigate your way through. Another way to know your sound, what I mean by that is, say you're on stage and there's some guitar amplifier, some bass amplifier that's just not feeling right. Now, you can't tell the audio engineer, the live sound engineer, hey, it doesn't feel right. What do you mean by that? He will also ask you, what do you mean by that? So maybe what you're hearing is not enough highs coming out of the amp. Maybe you're not hearing that crisp high end of the guitar. Maybe you're not hearing that punchy low end of the bass. So maybe this is what you can tell the live sound engineer, that, hey, is it possible to make the guitars a little more crispy? Is it possible to make the low end a little more punchy, a little more full, a little more boomy? So you need to know these terms. You need to know how to converse with the sound engineer. You need to know how to talk to a professional in the world of audio, in the world of music. I understand that when you're starting out, we all might not be equally aware of the terms, equally sound technically, but it is on us to continuously train ourselves, to educate ourselves, to make sure that we learn these technical terms, so that everybody working with us, around us, feels a little more in sync, feels on the same page as you are. Now, while I am talking about knowing your way around sound, the next satellite skill that I have for you is knowing your way around a studio. When you walk into a studio for the first time, when you've been called to record a song, it is imperative that you know your way around the studio, right? What do I mean by that? Now, the basic of recording or walking into a studio, working in a studio for a session artist, for a recording artist, is to know how to set up your mics. Now, it's not a live performance that, it can be a little like this, a little like that, and it's a live vibe and people are enjoying it. No, it's not that. In a studio setup, everything has to be captured perfectly right. Now, there is a very common rationale that's, talked about in the studio, that your input capture has to be the best it possibly can be. So you need to know how to set up a mic. If I'm a guitar player, I need to know what the 12th fret is. I need to know how to capture more bass from the acoustic guitar, how to capture more high end from the acoustic guitar. If I'm a vocalist, I need to know where to stand in the studio, how to position the mic, so that the content that I'm singing, the capture, is perfect. You must know how to set up the mic in a studio for yourself. Yes, of course, there is a producer, there's a studio caretaker, there is a studio engineer, whoever there is to help you out. But it's always good if you know how to do it yourself, so that the other person also feels comfortable. The second thing is that you should always know when to plug in and when to plug out cables. I am sure you've attended concerts where after the song ends or after the performance ends, you hear this sudden talk and everybody's just like, what just happened? The sound engineer is shouting at the band members are screaming at each other. That happens when you plug out a cable without switching the main power channel off. You should never do that. It's like, I'll give you an example. Say you're hearing something on your phone, the video is playing and somebody comes and just pulls out the earphone cable. You do not want that to happen, right? Now, in the context of a phone and pulling out an earphone cable, nothing might happen, right? Your earphones might work perfectly fine. But what happens in a big, huge live sound environment or a studio environment is that a lot of current is flowing, a lot of signal is flowing from here to there to here. There's audio to digital conversion, there's digital to audio conversion, there's high electricity. So in that scenario, when you plug out a cable out of the blue without muting things, there is a huge power surge or a sudden power cut. What that does is it literally fries the circuitry inside and out. So you should never do that. Know when to plug in a cable, know when to plug a cable out. Ask the producer or the studio engineer to mute the channel before you can take a plug out. The next thing that you should know about knowing your way around the studio is, if you're a vocalist, how to use a pop filter. Why to use a pop filter? What is a pop filter? A pop filter is basically that black shield sort of a thing that you put in front of a mic so that, you know, all these sounds don't get captured more than they need to be. So know what a pop filter is, know what a sound isolation shield is. I'll attach pictures everywhere, so don't worry, you'll know what it looks like graphically, visually. Know what a sound isolation shield is, know how it works. Know how to isolate background noise, how to make sure that you record in a quiet environment. These are basics that you will find everywhere. Again, because I'm listing out certain skills, I'm not going into it in detail, but you can always go on YouTube and find all of this online. In any case, in the future, I will be making detailed videos about all of these things. Now, the last satellite skill that I have for you, and this is very, very important. There are 2 points that I want to talk about in tandem. The first is knowing how to use a credit card, and the second is being very organized with lists. Now, why is it important to own a credit card? I recently sort of learned how to use a credit card really well, which is why I wanted to talk to all of you about it. Now, we've all heard the stories that, oh, somebody fell in a credit trap and the collectors came to their place to collect the debt, and it's a downward spiral, total mess from there. But I'm here to tell you that a credit card is a fantastic tool that can be used to optimize your spending and to sort of lower the burden that you have on your shoulders in a certain given time frame, of course. Example, say you need to buy a pair of monitors, right? Studio monitors, it costs 30,000 rupees. Now you know for sure you have delivered a performance, or you've recorded, or you've written a song, and you know the payment's coming in next week. But you need the speakers today because it's Black Friday sale going on. For those of you who don't know what Black Friday sale is, it's this mega sale that happens all around the world for anything electronic appliance, cameras, mics, sound cards, guitars, instruments, lenses, everything. Black Friday sale is the go-to sale for anybody who wants to buy equipment. So say Black Friday sale is tomorrow, you're getting the monitors for 30,000, which ordinarily cost 45,000. Now you know that you're going to get a payment of 40,000 rupees, but next week, and today you don't have 30,000 rupees. So what do? That's where a credit card comes really handy. Ka-ching, you swipe it and you've bought the studio monitors. 30,000 spent, but who spent it? The bank that gave you the credit card has spent 30,000 rupees on your behalf. Now, this does not mean that you can just sit back and go like, wow, the bank is so kind, they let me spend 30,000 rupees. No, that is not the case. The bank is charging you anywhere between 3.5% to 5% a month. It could be anywhere between 2.5% to 4.5% a month. So if you think that the bank paid 30,000 rupees for you and they're very happy, they like you, they do not. They are waiting for you to forget that they paid 30,000 on your behalf, and they are waiting for you to completely forget that the month is over and you need to pay them back. Why? So that they can charge 3.5% or 4% per month on those 30,000 rupees, and then come to your door, knock on your door and say, excuse me, you need to pay us back 50,000. 50,000, you just spent 30,000. Why 50,000? Well, because 3.5% every month compounds to 40-45% a year, and that is a crazy interest amount to pay. So make sure that you use a credit card wisely. Swipe it, get what you need to get. The moment you get that paycheck next week, the 40,000 paycheck, 30,000 instantly goes into a separate account that you must create to pay all of your credit bills. If you don't do this, believe me, you will run afoul with the bank, with the authorities. You will get into a credit trap that you will not be able to escape. So each time you swipe a credit card, please be sure that you have that money. You're just not paying that money instantly, right? Now, of course, there are lots of ways to optimize credit card spending. I am not a financial expert, so I will not talk about all that in this video. I will put links of YouTube videos in the description. You can check those out. They will teach you exactly how to use a credit card well. But this is a very important satellite skill. The last point that I have for you is making lists. Always make lists of what you want to do, what you want to achieve, whether it's in a day, whether it's in a week, whether it's in a year, whatever it is. Always maintain a to-do list, maintain all sorts of lists, whether it's what I want to achieve in today's jam rehearsal, whether it's what I want to achieve in today's studio session, whether it's what I want to do with this 50,000 rupees that I just got. List it down. 10,000 goes to investments, 10,000 goes towards my music expenses, 10,000 goes towards my video team payments, 10,000 goes towards my band payments, and 10,000 is just for me to enjoy, to travel, to eat out, to buy a pair of sneakers, whatever it is. Make lists. Never do it mentally, because you might be a genius, but there is only so much even a genius brain can handle. So always make lists. Keep up with the lists, keep checking off things that you're achieving, and keep highlighting things that you haven't achieved yet. So that's all. I think I listed about 7 to 8 or maybe 9 satellite skills, but believe me, if you truly learn about all of these skills, you'll see how easy it becomes to navigate your way in this industry. You'll see how comfortable you feel every time you get into a new agreement, every time you get into a new collaboration, every time a paycheck comes in, every time you need to spend something. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sticking around. I will see you next week again with another episode of The Chat Show, Friday 6 p.m. as always. If there's anything that you want to ask me, if there's anything that you feel I have missed out, please list it in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way in helping me create more and more videos for you all. Take care. I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Sa